Counter-Strike has been around for over 2 decades, and Valve has just dropped its latest installment with Counter-Strike 2. CS2 will feel very familiar for CSGO players as it borrows many of its maps, weapons, and more. But if you're brand new to Counter-Strike, we're here to help bring you up to speed. From the basic structure of a competitive CS2 match to handy tips for your first few games, here's what you need to know to get into Counter-Strike 2 in 2023. Counter-Strike 2 is a 5v5 competitive FPS where you take turns to play on 2 different sides: terrorists, which we'll call Ts, and counter-terrorists, which we'll call CTs. In competitive matches, there are 12 rounds per half, and your side needs to secure 13 to win overall. If you tie with the enemy team and you're playing a Premier game, then the match goes into overtime. There are currently 9 maps available to play in CS2's competitive mode, 8 of which follow the bomb defusal format. If you're playing on T side, your goal is to take control of either the A or B bomb site and plant the bomb, eliminating any CTs that get in your way. On CT side, your job is to stop the Ts from planting, or defuse the bomb if they manage to get that far. CS2 also features a couple of hostage maps, where your roles are quite different. As a T, you need to guard some hostages, while the CTs try to rescue them and carry them to safety. At the start of each round, you buy weapons, armour and grenades, and your available funds will vary between rounds based on your team's performance. Money you don't spend is carried forward to the next round, so it's up to you and your teammates to spend and save strategically to maximise your advantage. Each team has a different loadout of weapons at their disposal, so there are some weapons that only Ts can buy, and vice versa, but everyone on your team will have access to the same pool of weapons provided you have enough cash to buy them and have selected them for your loadout. Your first instinct should be to shoot at your opponent's head, so try to get into the habit of keeping your crosshair at head height as much as possible. Friendly fire is also on during competitive matches, so avoid injuring your teammates by taking sensible shots. Bear in mind that CS2's weapons have noticeable recoil once you fired a few bullets. For the most accurate shots, hold down left mouse button in short bursts of about 1 to 3 bullets, and stand still while shooting to maximise your chances of landing lethal headshots. You can crouch for more accuracy, but this also makes you an easier target.
See, that's how you do it.
As you become more familiar with each map, it's worth trying your hand at prefiring. If you think an enemy is hiding around a corner or behind a box, shoot in the area where you anticipate their head will be before you actually see them. This works particularly well on T side, where you're likely rushing onto a bomb site and clearing corners to eliminate CTs lurking nearby. Peeking is when you quickly move out of cover to briefly check an angle or search for an opponent. If your reactions are on point and your opponent is where you're expecting them to be, this can result in a cheeky entry frag, which is an early kill in the round. While you won't always be this lucky, peeking is a solid way to score some information on where the enemy squad is. That said, you want to avoid standing out in the open for too long. With your crosshair trained at head height, practice strafing, which is when you move sideways using the A and D keys, and move out from behind walls quickly to get a look ahead of you before dashing back behind cover. Once you're familiar with CS2's weapons and feel comfortable with your aim in general, try learning the recoil patterns for guns like the AK-47 and M4A4. This will allow you to spray, which is when you hold down left mouse button and drag the mouse in a specific motion to counter the weapon's recoil so that you can control where the shots go. This technique is especially useful if you're up against multiple opponents and want to take them out in one swift burst. This is a more advanced skill, so don't worry about investing too much time learning the spray patterns perfectly early on. While CS2 rewards fast reactions, you can get an edge over your opponents with clever positioning. You always want to have the upper hand over your opponent in a firefight, so this means no risky peeking or wildly running and gunning. As a CT, patience is key. Don't be tempted to push into the path of the Ts at the start of each round, as you'll likely die quickly and put your team at a disadvantage. Pick a spot and hold that angle to wait for more information. Choose angles where you have a clear line of fire to your opponents, and make sure you have some cover to duck behind. It's also worthwhile varying your position on the bomb site. Don't stand in the same spot every round, and be prepared to quickly rotate to mid or the other bomb site to help your teammates. As a T, practice peeking and pre-firing when attacking a bomb site, and coordinate with your team by picking an angle to hold after you've planted the bomb. This makes it much harder for the CTs to retake the site. It's important to keep enemy players guessing, and sometimes you'll need to be a bit sneaky. You can do this by standing in places that put them at a disadvantage, where they're forced to push and look for you, or try and catch them off guard by hiding around corners. Hold shift when entering a bomb site so your footsteps can't be heard, and always, and I cannot stress this enough, check your corners. Just like in real life, CS2's guns are heavy and they slow you down, so if you need to get somewhere fast and believe it's safe enough to move without a firearm in hand, switch to your knife to run. The more you play CS2, you'll begin to notice how much information you can glean just from listening carefully. We recommend playing with headphones so that you can easily hear when an enemy is on the other side of a wall or behind you. Some surfaces sound different underfoot, so as you become more experienced, you'll be able to work out where other players are based on their footsteps alone. CS2 is a multiplayer game after all, and sharing information about the enemy's whereabouts with your squad is crucial. Playing with a microphone is the best way to go, but to communicate with your team most effectively, it's worth learning how to quickly refer to each section of the map. All bomb defusal maps have an A and B bomb site, and usually an area in the middle, which is called mid. However, there are lots of map-specific walkways and zones to memorise. Most maps display the in-game name under the radar, but these are often different to the nicknames players have grown to use for them. Consider starting on a popular map like Mirage, and familiarising yourself with each area by finding annotated maps online. Don't sweat it if you don't know the name of an area straight away. Once you've played a few matches, the names will stick in your mind. The main thing to remember is to always alert your teammates when you spot an enemy. Knowing their general location is far more helpful than radio silence. In CS2, you buy weapons, armour, and utility at the beginning of each round, and these can be refunded if you misbuy. If you survived the previous round, your items are brought forward with you. However, if you died, you'll need to buy everything fresh. Each half begins with a pistol round, and then it's on to you and your team to earn cash based on your performance. Pay attention to what the rest of your team are buying, as your team's economy can greatly affect your chances of winning. When money is tight, your team can opt to eco, which is when you conserve cash for the next round by buying either nothing, or at most an item or two, such as a pistol or grenade. In situations where you don't have enough money for assault rifles, armour and grenades, but also can't afford to lose another round, you can force buy. This is exactly what it sounds like. You're forced to buy whatever you can afford, so SMGs are usually your best option. You can pick up any weapons you see on the floor in CS2, so consider swapping your current gun for expensive firearms like the AWP or AK-47 at the end of a round to bring into the next one.
He's half.
Before hopping into your first CS2 match, you should set up your loadout. You have 15 weapon slots, consisting of pistols, mid-tier weapons like SMGs and shotguns, and rifles. You can't go wrong with CS2's headlining assault rifles, such as the AK-47, M4A4, and M4A1S, but there's still room to fill your loadout with a few personal preferences too. The AWP is a high-risk, high-reward sniper rifle that can kill in one body shot, but if you whiff, you'll lose it very quickly. Weapons with scopes can be a good option for new players, and even the pros use them, so consider adding the AUG and the SG553 to your loadout. Here are some helpful suggestions for the best weapons to choose on T side and CT side. This sounds simple, but it's so easy to forget. Get yourself into the habit of buying armour and a defusal kit if you're playing on CT first. For armour, it's best to buy Kevlar and a helmet whenever possible. Defusal kits cut down your bomb defusal time from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, which can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing a round. Try to have one on you, or when you're strapped for cash, make sure you've got a person with a kit at each bomb site as a minimum. Alongside weapons and armour, you can also buy a selection of grenades. These can turn the tide of a round when used correctly. If you're just starting out, try learning some basic smokes to cover areas like mid and the bomb sites. If you regularly queue with a team, ask your friends to learn a different smoke each so that you can block off all entry points to each site and make them easier to attack or defend. Flashbangs briefly blind all players, so let your teammates know you're about to throw one to avoid flashing them accidentally. Send flashes around corners to push onto bomb sites, and learn pop flashes, which is a flash that explodes immediately. Similarly, Molotovs, incendiary, and HE grenades will damage you and your squad, so be wary of throwing them too close. HE grenades are best used to finish off an enemy with low HP, and Molotovs and incendiaries can be helpful in forcing an opponent out of their position, such as out from under a platform or between some boxes. If you're looking for more from CS2, make sure to check out the official launch trailer and our helpful CS2 guides on the IGN wiki page. And for other gaming news, previews and more, you're already in the right place.